Hey everybody, it's Dr. Mark, the Premier Life Carmel. Today's podcast installment is we're going to go over a pretty popular but sort of a really still misunderstood topic of metabolic health. So, when most people think about metabolic health, they think more of weight loss. They think of blood sugar regulation. They think of those sorts of things that will impact their health that way. But the fact of the matter is, metabolic health is much more involved. And in fact, our metabolic health does everything from consider how our body produces energy, how we regulate our hormones in our body, everything from tissue repair, how we manage the inflammation in our body. And most importantly, one of the big things that for those of you who are under care in the facility, stress is a big thing. And our metabolic health and our metabolism really not only is impacted by that, but has a lot to do with how we respond to that impact of the stress in our systems. So, what we want to talk about is what's at the core of that. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about three main principles. We're going to have just three takeaways for today. It's not meant to be all inclusive, but what I do want you to get is working on our metabolic health doesn't have to be expensive. Some of these things are very cost effective, and they're very easy to do. So, just based on my experience as a practitioner and dealing with this for quite a few years now, there are three things that I usually see can have a very profound on your metabolic health without spending a lot of money or trying to get confused by what is now Dr. Google or a lot of influencers. So, number one is chiropractic care. Again, not only does our neurology control every cell, tissue, and organ in our body, but when our bodies do have those stressful inputs and we have a harder time regulating that stress due to some metabolic issue, whether it's chronic inflammation or whatever that might be, our neurology is not only involved in that, but it helps to regulate that. In fact, how our nervous system function really has a lot to do with how our metabolism works and how we're able to react to those stressors in our life. So, at the core of all of this is a sound neurology based chiropractic care plan where you are under the care and taking care of yourself in a way that allows your body to eliminate those stress points throughout the spine, thereby decreasing the restrictions in our nervous system, which helps to allow your body to heal optimally and function optimally. And again, does everything from regulating our hormones to how well we sleep. So chiropractic care, I would say, is probably that keystone of all of this. And it's very simple. Again, very cost effective, very well researched way of impacting our metabolic health. Number two, again, one of the most common things we see is nutrient deficiencies. And those nutrient deficiencies can have a lot to do, again, with how your metabolism works, how you're able to withstand stress, and sort of how your body responds to your daily environment and activities. So, two things that I see very common. Number one is magnesium. Magnesium deficiencies are very common, and this is an easy check. It's estimated that as many as 60% of the U.S. population may be magnesium deficient, and especially living in the Midwest, where we don't have magnesium in our soils anymore. It's so depleted by our farming practices. As honestly, we say, well, what foods can I eat to get magnesium? And those things usually involve things like leafy greens, nuts and seeds, pumpkin seeds, even some meats. But there's such a depletion in the soil right now that honestly, what used to be a go-to for being able to say, hey, your diet gives you all the nutrition you need. Well, I don't know, maybe 100 years ago that might have been true, but it's just a different game now. We have so many chemicals in our foods. We have so many chemicals that we put on our fields, and it has basically just stripped the soil of most nutrients or have significantly depleted them, that the value of nutrition in our food is not what it used to be 100 or even 50 years ago. So I honestly don't think that just eating that healthful diet anymore fixes nutrient deficiencies. It certainly helps maintain, But once you have a frank deficiency, there are some real issues that can come up with our metabolic health. And again, one of the most common ones I see is magnesium. So magnesium runs over 800 different chemical processes in our body. A lot of these have everything to do from how our DNA is replicated and made in our body to just simple things like our muscle and nerve health. Muscle and nerve absolutely requires a very robust amount of magnesium to maintain their function and just their integrity, just the health of that system. Our bone health. So we hear so much about osteoporosis and osteopenia, which is a low bone density or some bone loss. And again, a very common thing that we deal with, but not many people realize that calcium isn't necessarily the answer. In many cases, the calcium is not the answer. But magnesium and a couple other nutrients as well, but especially magnesium is very important to help maintain the integrity and help with bone repair and turnover and all those things to keep our bones healthy in our body. We mentioned blood sugar at the beginning, and blood sugar regulation, again, things like high blood sugar or low blood sugar or insulin levels and how our body is impacted by insulin. That's all magnesium dependent. And again, any shortness in that magnesium nutrient is going to impact these. Remember, 800 different processes in our body are dependent on magnesium to work. Not only that, but things like sleep. And, those things we talk about, mental health issues, depression, anxiety. There's just so much information out there now that shows a direct correlation to an improvement in these functions and the status of our neurology and our bone and our muscles and all of these things just by getting our magnesium repleted in our body. And typically, again, anymore, I think that requires some supplementation. Typical recommended for magnesium RDA is a little low. We want to really strive to get somewhere between 400 to 600 milligrams of magnesium daily. And that's elemental magnesium. And so it can be a little bit confusing because you look at a magnesium bottle and it says, it has 400 milligrams. And what we have to understand is magnesium is always tagged on to something, whatever it is, glycerate, magnesium orotate. So there's always something onto magnesium to help it to assimilate into the body because magnesium by itself really isn't absorbed all that well in the forms that we have. So, if you see that you're getting 400 milligrams of, say, a magnesium glycinate, for example, you're not getting 400 milligrams of elemental magnesium. You may be getting about 40 or 50% of that much. So sometimes we think we're repleting properly by taking that 400 milligram dose. But in all honesty, you're not getting that much if you're taking any sort of magnesium that's bound to something else. So 400 to 600 milligrams a day is a baseline to help replete our magnesium and keep our bodies healthy, our nervous system healthy, and help with all functions from hormones to repair. So that's number two, chiropractic number one, magnesium number two. The other big thing that I have seen in practice frequently is fish oil and that omega-3. So they go by the same name. Fish oil is a type of omega-3. And it is the type of omega-3 that is most utilized in the body. So the omega-3 aspect is also very important. And as we talked about chiropractic care being the cornerstone of our health, because the nervous system is regulating everything from our hormone production to our digestion to how we're able to process those stressors in our life. That's all neurologically dependent. So, just like magnesium, fish oil has some of those same properties where it's extremely beneficial for neurological inflammation and neurological repair and maintenance. So the omega-3s feed in a couple different ways as far as neurological health goes. Again, same things we can talk about with magnesium. It helps with depression, helps with anxiety, helps with sleep. These are all studies that are easily found on things like PubMed or National Institutes of Health, which is called NIH.gov. You can go see these. These are in the very easy to find, published and peer-reviewed literature. But fish oils, again, they really help with that metabolic health by way of working on inflammatory pathways. And by the way, magnesium is a really good anti-inflammatory. Not many people know that, but our immune system and our inflammation pathways are also very magnesium dependent. So a deficit in that magnesium on a daily basis can lead to dysfunction in those systems. And so we can see this chronic, unnecessary inflammatory cascades go on. And this, again, really impacts our body's ability to heal. It impacts our body's ability to be able to move forward. Even though we feel like we're doing all the right things, sometimes our body just needs that extra support to help support everything else that we're doing lifestyle-wise. So, going back to fish oils, what you see, especially this time of year, dry skin is an issue, eczema, all those atopic dermatitis things. Fish oils are extremely helpful in keeping those skin conditions at bay and helping to basically nourish the skin to help with prevention of these sorts of things. Fish oils are extremely good for the liver. One of the things that you may have heard of now with this rapid rise in our diabetes and our high insulin levels is people having non-alcoholic fatty liver. There's several terms for it, but that's still probably one of the most well-known. And so things like fatty liver deposits or liver overload, extremely helpful to have omega-3s, fish oils on board, because it's, again, this is stuff that's been clinically proven to really help with all aspects of our metabolism, not just selecting things out and saying, well, I need this for my skin, or I want this so I can sleep better. When we go at symptoms like that, we really kind of miss the boat. And that's where we kind of get lost, because we start looking for answers to symptoms. And what we're saying is things like chiropractic care, using fish oils, and using things like the proper form of magnesium in the correct doses. These things are not based on treating your symptoms. What you're seeing is that as your metabolism in your body improves, and the neurology and your nutrition allows your body to start to be able to heal, you're finding that these symptoms are going away because they are just red lights on the dashboard. And so when your body begins to heal and it's able to incorporate all of these lifestyle changes and neural-based chiropractic care, you find that these things do go away, not because you treated that symptom, but because you impacted the root cause of an issue, like magnesium and fish oils and chiropractic care does. So, if you have not yet, I would suggest that you strongly consider coming to our Body Breakthrough educational event that we're having coming up. That's January 31st, where we're going to go into a lot more of this topic, very in-depth, new research, still with the growing use of GLP-1s. What is a GLP-1? What does it mean? And what does it do to my body? All of that stuff's going to be gone over, lifestyle changes, things that we can do to really impact the root at the core of our health, to really start to break away from this constant symptom management and this, running around for different diagnoses, and it just gets, it gets tiring. So events like the Body Breakthrough on January 31st, which is a Saturday, you really get a good in-depth look at all of these topics that we're going to talk about. So hope to see you there. Hope this was educational. If you have any questions, I'm always in the office. Hope to see you guys soon, and have a great day. Thanks.